Yeah, so I know like with when I was hunting in because I grew up in southern Kentucky and then
Okay.
a bunch in Alabama. So in Kentucky there were zones, and in between those zones, like zone 1 and 2, you could hunt you could kill like I think it was like 1 or 2 does per year,
Hmm.
1 buck. And then zones 3 and 4, which was where I was hunting in, you were allowed 1 buck a year, not a doe, just 1 buck. So if you pulled that
Dang.
trigger, you you better make sure it was worth it, because you're not getting another opportunity.
Yeah. Goodness. There regulations for deer. It's good, but it's also bad.
Well, yeah, but you got to remember like how many of those people, actually do what they're supposed to do, right? Like
Yeah.
actually getting a license. They're actually
Hmm.
targeting and tagging their deers correctly, and then they're doing it within legal hours,
Hmm.
of 30
Yeah.
minutes before and 30 minutes after sunrise and sunset. That's where I think Kentucky, I know specifically, is struggling the most, because people are like, I'm not taking a doe. There's plenty of does. I've got like
Yeah.
50 does for 1 buck. I'm killing this doe. Period. End of
Hmm.
story. And so they stop paying attention to it. And then the other big thing is fish and wildlife like fish and wildlife officers. They'll come to like large properties
Hmm.
and say, hey, we want to do a census on your deer population. Do you mind us being like, staying here for like a week or so, just in and off on the property, just tracking and targeting, the deer population? And so
Yeah.
many people get so freaked out about that they're like,
Hmm.
absolutely not, no. And then now, because of that, they don't know how many does are actually in the area. They don't know how many bucks are actually in the area. So
Yeah.
it really shoots people in the foot later on when they're like, you know, December. They're like, well, I've already shot my buck this year, and it was a 4 point, and we've already went through the deer meat. Well, if you'd have let them
Hmm.
on your property, we wouldn't,
Yeah.
we could probably have a doe per, extra per season.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's rumors going on that Missouri, their wildlife officers are actually killing because they say we got CWD in Missouri like bad. So they say they're taking the numbers down by killing off herds. And so I don't know how much of that is true, but it's just you never know what the officers are doing, really.
I remember when I first started getting into hunting, and somebody was telling me about CWD, and they were like, if you see a deer, you can't eat it whatsoever. Shoot it
Yeah,
immediately and leave it there, right? And I and
yeah,
I and I always questioned. I was like, if I leave it there, let's just play the scenario out, right? Let's say a doe walks in front of me 30 yards, I drop her, and I leave her there, and she has that disease. If it's
hmm,
in the disease, right, and the circle of life starts happening, coyotes come and eat her, birds are eating her. I was like, wouldn't that disease pass on to other animals? I was like, and move,
yeah,
and then now we're looking at a widespread, disease on my property.
yeah.
And they're
You'd
like, no,
think,
it only affects deer. And I'm like, what? How? I don't know about that.
yeah, because even though if it don't affect the coyote will still have it, and
It
then
now, yeah, it's now
say it
held
bites another
carrier.
deer. Yeah,
Exactly. And I think, and it's so funny because you have people who are like, there's never been a known case of a human catching CWD, right?
yeah,
Like, period, ever. It's an urban myth, right? So
hmm,
I'm not saying the disease itself isn't real. I
yeah.
just don't think that it's as bad as we're making it out to be.
Hmm.
you know so
I
I think
agree.
that's something interesting that I definitely like getting people's perspectives on, like, have you ever actually seen an animal with CWD?
No, I don't think anybody has.
I think I'm not sure, because I didn't obviously shoot the animal. It was like 200 yards away, right? I was spotting, and I was looking for new properties. um and up here in New England specifically, there's such a lack of hunters
Hmm.
that you can pretty much walk up to anyone's property and go knock on their front door and say, hey, I would like the opportunity to hunt on your land. I will do it respectfully, and I will do it by your rules and your laws. if you
Hmm.
will give me the opportunity to. And especially people with like gardens, right? Big
Yeah.
gardens or anything like that. And I remember my first year up here, I went up to this lady's house and I was like, "Hey, I would love the opportunity I was looking, from the road and I saw that there was lots of deer in your backyard."
Yeah.
In the back of your property. And she was like, "Yeah, they're all over the place." She's like, "I can't get these sons of bitches off here." And I was like, interesting. I was like, it's so funny that you say that. I would love to help you with that.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, if that's a possibility. And I was like, are they causing destruction or like, what are they doing? She's like, yeah, they're eating all of my garden and this, that, the other. And I was like, okay, well, hey, if you will give me the opportunity, I was like, I will take your number. You can have my number. I will text you usually a day or two before. I was like, I will let you know when I show up to the property. I promise there will be no trash left, and I will even do some extra work around your garden to help you out if
Yeah.
that's a possibility to allow me the chance to hunt here. And she was like, no, I think I'm just going to keep doing what I was doing. And I was like, what is it that you're doing? And she was like, I put pesticides on my plants, so they usually stay off of them after a while, or they get sick and die. And I was like, that's that's torturing these animals. You realize that, right? Like you're
Yeah.
literally poisoning these deer. And she was
Yeah.
like, no, it's not poisoning. And I was like, what is pesticide?
Hmm.
And she was
Yeah.
like, it was a deer repellent. And I'm like, no, no, it's a poison.
Yeah.
So, like we have a lot of uneducated people
Yeah.
up here in New England area where just people are like, well, and it'll say on the bottle, and I end up going and looking at like Tractor Supply, and I end up looking at the bottle, and it does say deer repellent, and
Wow.
I'm like, wow, oh, so it's mispropaganded. Oh, cool. That's all it is.
That's crazy.
So yeah, I could never do that down south, right? Like I would never walk up to somebody's house and be
Yeah.
like, let me hunt here. Because that's a quick way for somebody to be like, well, my granddaughter or grandson, everybody hunts here. You can
Yeah.
go, fuck yourself. So
That happens a bunch for sure.
yeah. So are you mainly private, or you're public and private, right?
I mainly deer hunt just private. I had got lucky and a guy down here has a lot of farmland and I talked to him, he let me hunt one of his places and I tried not to go to public for deer hunting just because I'm not really a big fan of fighting other people for a spot. But for duck season that's different. I'll fight anybody for a good duck spot. Yeah.
I I think last year, so I've done it a few times, and my first ever public sit, I got out there early. I was like, damn, it's public. I was like, I need to get out there, claim my spot early. I was like,
Mm,
so I went out there, I marked the tree, marked the location to it, and it was like I was like 2 miles from the nearest road, right? So I was like, you had
hmm.
to hike out there, and I did it with a climbing stand, so like it
Nice.
sucked. That was a horrible walk. Um, and I was like, damn, this is gonna be miserable if I shoot one. Like this is gonna be
Hmm.
the worst day ever. But I was like, we're gonna see it. So I got out there and I got set up, and I heard something. I finally got set up and I heard something crunching up through the woods, and I didn't think anything of it. I was like, damn. I was like, they're moving early. I was like, Jesus. And didn't really think anything of it. It got quiet after a while, and then sunrise happens. I look over and I'm 10 feet from another dude who's climbed up in a tree, and me and him both kind of realized it. And he was like, well, shit. And I was like, you hunt that way, I'll hunt this way, and if it's right here, we'll rock paper scissors for it. And he was like, sounds great. So like we both were just pissed off at the end of the day. We got down and we ended up going and like getting lunch together. But I was like, all right, you're gonna have to find a different spot or me, one of the two. We're gonna have to do like flip a coin for it or something. Um,
That's crazy.
I think there's oh my god, I was so mad. Um, there's good deer on public, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I don't like that people immediately rule out public. It's just you
Hmm.
do have to do a whole lot more work
Oh
for it,
yeah.
right? Like you're having to fight not only finding their routine, their schedule, what they do, when they do it, how they do it,
Hmm.
and the routes that they go to do those things, but you're also having to do it without letting other hunters know we're
Yeah.
doing it.
Hmm.
And that comes to a pretty tough situation
Oh
that I
yeah, for
think
sure.
pushes a lot of people away, because it is hard to get private land now to hunt, unless you're going to
Hmm.
pay I think the last one that I looked at for like a hunting lease was like, I want to say it was like 1,500 a month for like 300 acres. And now
Wow.
he had blinds and tree stands set up, but you also had to do um, a minimum of 48 hours worth of work during the summer to get the place set up. So it's 1,500 a month for the season, like during the season. And
Hmm.
then on top of that, you also had to do like 48 hours worth of work. And
Dang.
a lot of people can't, they can't do that. That's
Mm-mm.
not in today's society, at least. Shit.
Yeah.
I do some sketchy shit for a $50 bill, let alone
Yeah.
have 1,500 to just toss around at a deer.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Like,
Yeah, you
I think
gotta have deep
that's
pockets to get a lease nowadays, for sure.
oh yeah. Oh, it's ridiculous. Now, are you just archery or are you archery gun?
I'm archery. Our rifle don't open up until November, so I archery hunt, and then I might touch my rifle probably one time, but I try to stay archery hunting. I think it's more enjoyable to archery hunt.
Yeah. Yeah, I up here I have never seen rules as ghetto as they have them here. And I've hunted a lot of places, and
Yeah,
this is quite possibly the dumbest place I've ever hunted because here that you can do archery, which qualifies for compound or recurve or crossbow, right?
yeah.
Um, and then they do shotgun season,
Mm,
um, and they do that for like a month up here, I think, and then they do muzzleloader, and that's it. That is the only weapons that you are allowed to use. Oh, and you can use a spear. I forgot that too.
huh, that's crazy. How many
So,
guys spear
but
hunt?
I, I don't know. I haven't met one yet. But you also cannot like baiting deer is extremely illegal here.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
can't
same
even
here.
have like corn on your property. Like if it's naturally planted, that's different. But you
Yeah.
cannot have like a bag of corn just scattered.
Hmm.
That's a huge no no. So I just started doing archery like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, and I I don't know. What do you like? Are you the type that's like, oh, if you use a crossbow, you're cheating?
No, I don't care. I don't care either way. I would love to shoot a crossbow, but I like compounds, so I'll do that. But I might get a crossbow just to have it, just in case I need to reach out and poke another one. But I don't know. I enjoy compound bow, but I'm not against crossbow. My dad uses a crossbow.
Yeah, I got into crossbow really like 2 years ago when I was doing a lot of blind hunting.
Hmm.
Um, and because anyone who has ever hunted, period, pulling the pulling a bow back on the ground when you're eye level with these animals and they're 30 yards from you, that's really not that far. That's pretty, you're spitting distance from this animal.
Yeah.
And if you sneeze, or fart, they're gonna hear you.
Hmm.
And they are super super quick to take off. I had a one of my target bucks. It was a big 11 pointer, and I put this blind up, didn't really think anything of it. I just wanted to see what was in the area. I thought that they may be here,
Yeah.
moving through this area, but I didn't really put a whole lot of thought into it. I had really wished at about an hour into this hunt that I put more thought into this, because my blind, I did not set it up really that well. I did it in the dark, right? So I
Oh
looked at
yeah.
it in the dark. I'm like, looks great with a red
Mm.
light. It looked perfect.
Yeah.
Um, the sun rose, and it was in fact the worst setup blind I have ever done, and I was so
Wow.
embarrassed. But I had a couple does walk by pretty early, and they knew something was up, but they didn't know exactly what it was, so they just kind of
Hmm.
boogied out of there pretty quick. um Hour and a half later, it's like 8:45, 9 o'clock, my big target buck came in, and he took one look and was like, fuck that. He's like,
Hmm.
there's no chance, I'm not getting anywhere near that.
Yeah.
And he took off. And I think it was at like, I think I was gunned at like 50 yards. He knew exactly what it was, and he took
Dang.
off. So I stopped using compound bows and blinds a while
Hmm.
ago. So I'll
Yeah.
only use crossbows for that.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes a lot of sense because you do a lot of movement with, so yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
You,
it's just it's more convenient, right? It's easier,
mm,
it's quieter, and not that I don't trust my ability with a compound bow. I just know that I can hit a quarter with a crossbow at like 70 yards, right? And that
yeah.
thing is slinging that bolt. Um,
Mm,
so it's going to be a lot quicker, and a much more humane kill than if it
yeah.
was, like if I'm up in a tree, I prefer my compound bow versus a crossbow. Um,
Mm,
it's just it's more personal at that point.
yeah.
So I think it just depends on who it is, like who you are as like how you grew, came into hunting.
Oh yeah.
So how long have you been hunting?
I'd say I've been hunting probably since I was 12, and I'd say 14 years, something like that. But I started out only rifle hunting. I never really bow hunted up to until like 4 years ago. It was all rifle hunting. But once I killed my first deer with a bow, I was hooked. I didn't touch my rifle at all.
Yeah, I still, and I think everybody does it, right? Like everyone remembers
Yeah.
that first kill with a weapon system, right? So
Mm,
like I and mine was like a scrawny, she was probably
yeah.
7, 8 year old doe, who was gonna die that season anyway, regardless if it
Hmm.
was me or a freaking coyote or just Mother Nature as it is.
Yeah.
Um, but I was on cloud nine and I was like, all right, I'm in it. I love it.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, this is it.
It's a different feeling for sure. Because I killed growing up. I killed deer with my rifle, and it's just like another day. But then when I killed that doe with my bow, it was just like you're jacked because your adrenaline's already going crazy. It's like you're so
Yeah.
close with them, and you're pulling back, and it's a whole lot of stuff to go into killing this deer, and it makes it way more enjoyable.
Yeah, I got to the point where like with rifle, right? And I would go on and I grew up watching the Sportsman channel, like the
Yeah.
Pursuit and all that. And I got on there and I would watch them track these blood trails and I'm like, that
Hmm.
just looks like so much fun. Like that looks so rewarding to
Yeah.
shoot it, let it die, and then watch this, and then track this blood trail to finally put hands on this animal.
Mm.
And I didn't get that with a rifle, right? I was putting them, down within 20 yards, if
Yeah.
if they're if they're even running that. Um, and it wasn't as rewarding. And that's when I realized I was like, as a hunter, I don't want to not appreciate this moment.
Oh yeah.
If I'm sitting there and a deer walks out at 200 yards, hardly hunting, right? Like
Yeah.
at that
Yeah.
point, you're just like, if this gets in my general vicinity, I'm smoking this deer, no
Yeah. No
issue.
kidding. Yeah.
So yeah, I got into to archery a little while back and have been in it since. But I have blown more money archery hunting than
Mm.
I have in my entire hunting career with a rifle.
I agree 100%. Yeah.
I have slung more arrows when I shouldn't have. When I first got started, I was pretty young. I was like 14 when I first started, like actually using a bow,
Hmm.
and I was making shots that I shouldn't have. Like, and I don't know why I thought I could. I was like, I'm gonna sling this arrow that I only have a draw weight of like 50 pounds. I'm gonna
Yeah.
sling this arrow 70 yards and see what happens. And it never got there. I never hit this animal. I never even got close to this animal. The animal didn't even know I shot at it. And it would more or less just kind of like mosey off to its own area. Um,
Mm.
and I would never get those arrows back. So,
Oh yeah.
so are you a fixed or a mechanical broadhead?
Well, this year's kind of crazy because I have both, and I can't get them to fly straight, either one of them out of my bow. So I just whichever one flies straight is what I'm using right now. It's the two blade OZ cut broadheads, and they're
Okay.
fixed. But yeah, I wanted to shoot some VIP. I got some VIP broadheads. I don't know if you can see, but they're.
Yeah.
I wanted to
Yeah.
try
Those are
them this
gnarly.
year, but I couldn't get them to fly straight. So then I bought. I don't know if I have any in here. Uh, they had some two blade ones as well. So I bought them, and those fly pretty straight. So I guess with the way my bow and stuff set up, the only two blade is these ones.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Only two
Is that like what,
blades
a two,
fly
two and a half
straight.
inch?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you
Yeah.
have you done a paper test on your bow?
Yeah. I did all that um, with the field points or whatever, and it was doing the good tears of what, and we had to mess with it. We finally got to shooting straight, and so I don't know. I couldn't tell you what's going on, but three blade and four blade fly funny, but my two blades are the only ones that fly straight. So
Are
that's
you
what I'm
using
rocking
a
with.
like what's your arrow rest? Are you using like a whisker biscuit or
No, it's a QAD. It was a Matthews integrated one. But it's a QAD drop away. I had to get a new one just because I
okay.
figured out the first problem was it was broke, and so every time I shoot, I hear a tinging noise. And
Oh geez.
on the bottom of the wherever the rest sits, there's the metal was you could see metal. It knocked the paint off, so it was broken. It was hitting the bow. So I got a new one, and it's starting to. They're flying better now, but this still the four or three blades still aren't flying the best.
That's interesting. That's
Yeah, it's
interesting.
weird.
I like what weight arrow are you using?
I think they're around 420 total
420. Okay.
with the broadhead and all that. 420, 430, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I had a problem with that a while back when I like my second bow, which was a Matthews, and I
Mm,
love Matthews.
yeah,
I'm shooting Hoyt now, but um I just can't do Matthews prices anymore. So,
yeah,
so I had to switch away.
yeah. My biggest thing with
And
Matthews is the grip. Grip absolutely sucks on the Matthews.
they do. They I didn't like so the Matthews that I was shooting, and I don't even remember this has been like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
The Matthews that I was shooting, the drawback like let off weight was like
hmm,
maybe 10 pounds. So holding that for several minutes was just smoking my arm.
yeah,
And I just didn't like that. Um, and there was also this like really weird reverb. Every time I shot, the cams would kind of like shake just a little bit.
huh,
So I was constantly having to go into the bow shop and have them tightened. And I was like, can we put some fucking lock seal or something on these bolts? I was
yeah,
like, they're not staying. And they're like,
yeah,
with Matthews sometimes because it's such a highly manufactured bow, the bolts that are put into it don't actually stay after a
mm,
while. And they're like, how many shots have you put? Like, do you really like realistically think you've put on this bow? And I was like, probably, 7, 8 thousand. I was like, I shoot all summer long. I was like, I'm
yeah,
practicing all summer long. I was like, and then, during season, even when I'm not hunting, I'm still putting in hours of practice.
yeah,
And they're like, yeah, it tends to fail. So most people end up switching to either the newer version of the Matthews or a different brand. So,
mm,
but the first problem I had was my whisker biscuit was catching the fletching of my arrow
uh,
and causing it to deviate by just like a half a centimeter. But that, half a centimeter at 30 yards, now you're looking at 4 or 5 inches.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
So I went to the drop one and it fixed it, but it was that fucking cam system. And so I was like, all right, I'm out. I was like, I'm gonna get away from that. I went to PSE, hated PSE. I did not like PSE, and it may
Really,
have just been the bow that I got. I
yeah,
just did no, excuse me, it was not PSE, it was Bowtech. I went to
uh,
Bowtech next. I did not like Bowtech. And then now I switched to Hoyt, and the Hoyt, I literally bought this off a guy on Facebook Marketplace,
mm,
and this bow is older than dinosaur shit. Um, and it's probably the best weapon I've ever used.
yeah,
I haven't even taken it to a bow shop to get it like adjusted in any way, form, or fashion. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this thing's being held together by hopes and dreams, and I'm just gonna keep letting it do it.
heck yeah,
Like it's got an 80-pound draw. Like I don't need it that damn heavy ever, but it's got it. And I'm like, all right, let's just whip these arrows at them and see what happens.
no kidding.
And up to this day, I haven't missed one yet with it. So we'll hold off. But I I can't, dude. I just don't trust myself enough with a fixed broadhead. I have to do mechanical. And
Mm,
it's like a double worry. It's one, I don't want to shoot an animal that I don't for 100% fact know that it's going to die within a short amount of time, right? And I know
yeah,
the quickest way to do that is to have a wide channel, right,
oh yeah,
with a cutting diameter. So
mm,
this year I went to um the mega meat broadheads.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, they're devastating.
I'm gonna have to get me some because I've seen too many videos where they
Oh my
absolutely
god,
blow a
they're
hole.
devastating. I think I absolutely butchered a shot this year. I did not account to this little fucking twig, man, that was like 10 feet above the deer that I really I couldn't see it. So I
Hmm.
shot it, nicked off that and shot high, but it was such that mega meat cut such a thick channel into this animal, ran like 10 yards and dropped.
Dang.
And I mean was just pouring blood. And I was like, works for me. I was like, cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I was like, I was hyped. I was like, man, it was a great shot. It was a great shot. Absolutely not. Butchered shot. Horrible, horrible placement. And I got home and my wife was like, what happened to this thing? And I was like, don't worry about it. And she was like, who shot this? And I was like, don't worry about it. It's like,
Dang.
stop asking questions. And she was like, no, seriously. She was like, this is like, you look like you mangled this animal. And I was like, you look like you shut up. You weren't there. You didn't know what happened. But
Wow.
yeah, that's I've got to I've got to get into that. Have you seen any things about these tideweed camos?
Dude, yes.
Are they good?
Yes. I don't know. I want to try them, but I wear Sitka, and Sitka's expensive. But
I can't, dude. I can't on a military paycheck. I can't afford Sitka. I
but
can't afford Sitka.
tideweed, bro. They just came out with a new wader system for duck hunting, and they look just like the Sitka stuff, and they're damn near half the price. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to try them. And they're like the warm weather, like their bibs and their coat for deer hunting. Looks like it's good. Like looks like it's good material and stuff. I want to try it.
I just bought the veil camo, like it looks like the late season camo. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about?
Hmm.
So I just bought that, and it's supposed to be. I'm hoping that it's going to be here like next couple days because I'm going to try to get out next week. We just had a newborn, so
Okay.
I've been just busy with that.
Hmm.
And so I'm hoping this weekend I can get out there and try to get a good set. Um, but I think that's another big thing that I did not know about until much later, right? And you'll get those people, right?
Hmm.
And anyone I've talked to several people so far, and one of the older gentlemen that I sat and I interviewed and I talked to, he was like, "Well, I just shoot deer with a flannel jacket on," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Hey, to each their own, that works for
Yeah.
you. I don't like being busted.
Yeah,
I
for
don't
sure.
like driving." Because where I hunt, so I'm in Connecticut, but I hunt in Rhode Island specifically.
Hmm.
Um, Only because Connecticut has some stupid ass laws that I don't agree with. So I tend to not hunt here. So I hunt in Rhode Island, which the place that I hunt's like an hour and a half away. So it's a full day. Like I leave if I'm going for a morning hunt, I'm leaving at like 2:30 to get
Yeah.
there. Um, but I think a lot of people don't realize that your camo it has to change with the season, right? Like you
Hmm.
can't have that mossy oak, that green, the green leaves
Yeah.
camo in the dead of winter. There's not green leaves around.
Yeah.
You do stick out like a sore thumb if
Oh,
you're
for
moving
sure.
around and you're sticking. So last year I switched. I think it was like November 5th. I switched from the mossy oak to the late season camo, and it
Hmm.
like I went right back to being invisible.
Yeah.
But this year I do want to try. Do you use like no scent or something like that,
Yeah, I use
or like dead downwind or something?
yeah, I forget what brand it is. But yeah, I use that I spray it myself and stuff.
Yeah, so I do want to try, and I've heard I it was a hunter in North Carolina that brought this up to me, and I was talking with him the other day, and I was like, what scent do you use? Like, what's your like? Give me like you pull up to your hunting spot, give me a from when you get out of your truck to out to like into your stand. What's a normal routine look like for you? And he was like, well, first thing I get out, he's like, and I use a bee smoker and I smoke my uniform or my clothes. And I was like, hold on,
Hmm.
you fucking what? It's like,
Yeah.
you smoke your clothes like with no sand or like, and he was like, no, no, no. He was like with a pellet that you would use to like smoke a beehive. He was like, I smoke my clothes. And I was like, why?
Huh.
I've never heard this. I was like, why do you do that? And he was like, because he was like, I have been busted more times by using no scent when the wind changes and they catch. He's like, it's even if they can't smell it, they smell a chemical that's not normal for them. So they smell it, they register it as not normal, and they get out. And I was
Yeah.
like, damn. I was like, you know what? Now that I think about it, I was like, I was busted 8 times last year. I was like, from a quick, I was in a valley and the wind came down, swirled, and it swirled just enough to catch one of the bucks that I was looking for. He caught just a quick scent, and it wasn't even me. I was like, I showered in no scent. I used
Yeah.
detergent for no scent, and then like I'm very very religious on how I spray.
Yeah.
Every single time it's the same. I was like, and I got winded. And he was like, try doing the smoke. He's like, I'm being dead serious. And I was like, interesting. So I didn't know if you've heard of that yet.
No, I've not heard of that at all. That, I mean, it makes sense because I mean, when I spray myself, I can smell the chemicals. So surely the deer can smell that.
Yeah, like I've accidentally sprayed like my face mask, right? And I
Hmm.
can smell, like it doesn't have a like and that's what I was trying to explain to my wife I finally took her out hunting for the first time last year. I was like,
Hmm.
"Hey, this stinks, but it doesn't stink." And she
Yeah.
was like, what does that mean? I'm like, I don't know how to explain it. I was like, it stinks. It's like water has taste, but it doesn't have taste. I was like, same thing. She was like, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, just so I sprayed it. She was like, oh my God, I get it. And I'm like, exactly. I was like, it has a smell, but it doesn't also have a smell. So
Yeah.
this year, I am going to try the smoke because
Hmm.
he said, he was like, smoke is a natural smell. He's like, they smell it, quite often. They smell it from
Hmm.
campfires. He's like, how many times have you been, sitting at a campfire and the deer will still walk out, wherever you're at? And I was like, yeah, I was like, I've seen it a couple times. I was like, but I've also
Hmm.
seen it while I've been on a bush hog before. So,
Yeah.
I think they just get accustomed to it. And he was like, yeah, he was like, if you're public land hunting, he was like, which I do, he was like, um, he's like, I have to be very mindful and put myself a little extra above the guy next to me,
Hmm.
and if they smell chemicals, they're gone. They're not coming back to this area. Um, so I actually did buy a bee smoker, and I am gonna try the smoking. He's like, it takes 10 minutes. He's like, just puff it through your system, your clothes. He was like, let it sit there. He was like, and then walk into the woods. He's like, I promise you, you're gonna see a difference. So I'm gonna try it for the sake of trying it. But
Hmm.
if I ruin like one hunt, I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to the same way I've been doing it. But so
Yeah.
yeah, give me you get out of your truck, like, get what's your routine?
Well, it depends on if I'm having my gear already. I just I already have my clothes on already, so I'm gonna do that. I just put my harness on and my backpack, and I just go around my body with the spray. I put the spray back on the truck, and I walk into the woods. I don't do too much with that. I mean, I usually spray my backpack before I put it in the truck, just cause. But I've heard that your scents in your truck will get all over your stuff, and
Yeah.
which so I spray myself just once over before I walk into the woods or walk into the property. But I don't really go too crazy with it.
So I used to, every year at the end of the year I would get those big, like, plastic boxes, right, that you can
Hmm.
you can lock up. So I would get those, and then at the end of the season I would wash all of it down with like the no scent laundry detergent, and then I would put it in the box, spray the box down, and then I would leave that there. No one is to touch that until
Hmm.
the next season. And
Yeah.
then beginning of the season I'd get it out, rewash it, and then immediately spray it back down. And then somebody told me last year, they were like, hey, the scent of your car gets on your clothes. And how long are
Hmm.
you driving to your spot? And I was like, hour and a half. He was like, how much scent do you think is getting on your clothes within that hour and a half? I was like, shit, I didn't think about that. I
Yeah.
was like, that makes sense. So I tried it last year a couple times, but it was so strenuous. I didn't want to do it anymore. So like what he had me do was go out there, have a change of clothes, right? So wear the change of clothes, have my
Hmm.
thermals and stuff on, that's fine. Get out, spray my thermals down, then get my clothes out of the box, put the clothes on, respray those down, and then bring the spray with you to your spot. And then when you get to your spot, you're set up. He's like, do you climb? I was like, yeah, I do usually do a climbing stand. I was like, I haven't switched to the saddle yet. And
Hmm.
he was like, get to your spot. He was like, respray down. I was like, why? He was like, are you sweaty after you climb? I was like, yeah. And he was like, exactly. He's like, now you're set. Now you're putting off scent. So respray. And I was like,
Mm.
dude, that's a lot of spraying, dude. I was like,
Yeah.
that. I was like, you're burning through no scent. And he was like, yeah, you'll burn through no scent. He's like, but I get caught less. And I was like, I mean, all right, I'll give it a try. I was like, let's
Yeah.
I'll see what it, and sure enough, man, I had like three mama does who, those are the first ones to spot you out.
Oh yeah.
Wind was swirling, they were right underneath my stand, never once caught me.
Mm.
um so I mean, I think, like I said, I think it's a lot of how you grew up, right? And I know
Yeah.
for me, scent control was a big thing growing up, but we never went that hard with it. It was
Yeah.
more of
Oh
like you
no.
spray and respray when you get to the stand. That's really about it.
Hmm. That was my
But
dad when I grew up with my dad. We just sprayed when we got out of the truck, and then that's it. Like I sprayed him, he sprayed me, and we walked to the blind. And it wasn't
yeah.
nothing crazy.
Oh, I took a young sailor because I'm in the Navy. And I took a young sailor out hunting last year, and I forgot to tell him the fear that you have walking into your stand in the middle of the night or like in the early morning, dark,
Yeah.
right? Can't see shit. I'm like, and he wants to use his big ass headlight, and I was like, yeah, if it's got a red light. And he was like, what do you mean if it's got a red light? I'm like, don't you use a big ass bright light, dude? I was like, you're not
Yeah.
going to use a brick. I was like, use a red light. They can't see red. They'll hear
Mm.
you and they'll probably smell you, but they're not going to see you. So at least they're not going to bust the area.
Yeah.
And we went out the day before and I was like, all right, here's your spot. This is where you're walking to tomorrow morning. Make sure you know where to go. And he was like, got it. I was like, and that next morning, we hunted till about 11 o'clock. We got out of the stands. I texted him. I was like, hey, you done? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, I ain't seen shit over here. So let's meet up on the trail and let's head out. And he was like, sounds good. We met up and he was he came up to me. He's like, hey, is it always that fucking scary? And I was like, is what scary? And he was like, going to my stand. He was like, I shit myself when you left. He was like, when you left me and I could no longer see you and know that somebody else was there to have my back. He was like, I have never experienced fear like I feared that moment. And I was like,
Oh yeah.
oh, dude, I forgot to tell you. I was like, yeah, no, it's horrible. Horrible.
Yeah.
Every
It's no
year. It
joke. It's no
sucks.
joke.
I was
Yeah.
like, and we had like, it was like a 2 mile hike in like for public land hunting, right? So
Oh
like
okay.
we barely knew where we were going. And I was like, I think that's where your spot is. It's right up there. And he was like, yeah, it is. I was like, all right, cool. Yeah. The next time he went by himself, I didn't even go with him. I went to another part of the land that we found. So he drove himself, found himself, went over there. I texted him, was like, hey, text me when you get to your stand so I know you made it safe. He's like, yeah, I got you. I texted him, I was like, hey, I'm set up. I don't hear anything from him. We're now like 45 minutes till sunrise.
Mm.
And I was like, if he's not set up now, he's screwed. I was like,
Yeah.
he's screwed. He's hunting on a field. So I was like, if he's not set up now, they've already left. Like they know he's there.
Uh-huh.
And finally I get a text from him and he was like, hey, sorry. He was like, I'm not gonna be hunting today. He's like, I'll wait for you. And I was like, what happened? And he was like, I apparently woke up some turkeys underneath, like when I was walking underneath the tree. I did not know that these turkeys were in this tree. I didn't know turkeys could get into trees. He was like, but they were in the tree and they took off and I thought that I was going to die. So I pissed down my leg and now I'm going back to my truck. And I was like, it's
Dang
like,
it.
yeah, you busted a roost of turkeys, man. I was like, that happens. I was like, so yeah,
Dang.
oh my God, I felt so bad. I felt
That's
horrible.
funny.
I was like, that's my fault, dude. But yeah, they
That's
no, so yeah,
hilarious.
I definitely want to try the smoking technique this year.
Hmm.
I'm gonna be interested to see how that is. And then, are you a saddle hunter or are you like a climbing stand?
Ladder stands mainly, but I've gotten to saddle hunting. I want to say 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago. But I'm scared of heights, so I kind of chickened out, sold all my stuff. So, but this year I went ahead and bought the XOP saddle and stuff, and I'm gonna practice with it this year, just hanging around or whatever. But I won't hunt until probably next year out of it, just so I can get used to it.
Yeah,
I'm extremely scared of heights, and I know saddle hunting's not for a guy scared of heights.
No, no, typically not. I didn't get into climbing until like 3 years ago. And my dad showed me how to use like the climbing stand, right, where you like inchworm up the tree.
Yeah.
And there was one morning, it was a ice storm, and everything was covered in ice. Like it was freezing. It was like -10, I think, and
Dang.
everything had a sheet of ice on it. So that morning I got out there, I'd set up my stand the day before so I could get out there, just jump into it, hook my harness up, and start climbing this tree. I
Yeah.
climbed this tree for like an hour because I was having to bust the ice off this tree, dig it in, and then go, right? I climbed for an hour, and finally the sunrise, and I was hunting on a ridge. So the ridge was like probably 20 yards in front of me. I was kind of sitting on the bank of it, and I knew they were walking this ridge line. So
Mhm.
um I swear I climbed for like an hour and a half. I was
Damn.
sweating by the end
Oh,
of
I
it.
bet.
Come to find out, I wasn't 10 feet off the ground. I did not climb high at all. They ended up, the deer walked by me, and I was eye level with these deer. And I was like, I literally can't do anything. So I got away from climbing for a little while after that because I was
Mhm.
like, I'm not gonna do that again. And then the next time I went out there, I was like, I'm never gonna let this happen again. I climbed too high, and
Dang.
my stand was like slanted down because it started, the tree skinnies as it gets up, right? And my
Mm.
stand was slanted too far forward, so I was slipping out of it the whole time.
Mm.
Um, so me and climbing have a very love-hate relationship.
Oh yeah.
So I'll do ladder stands all day. I'll do blinds all day long.
Mhm.
But I haven't done the saddle hunting yet. It's a little too confusing for me. I think
Yeah.
there's just too many ropes, too many different moving obstacles that I
Oh
know
yeah.
for a fact at 5:30 in the morning when I'm not paying attention, I'm gonna fuck up something.
That's where I'm at with it also. And I mainly bought it just so I can. I bought a camera and stuff. I mainly bought it so I can film my buddies while they're in the tree stand. But I don't know if I ever do that either. I might just keep on, hold on to it, and let my buddies borrow it. I might not even use it, but I'm gonna try to.
I have a climbing stand now, and I intend on using it this year because
Mhm.
I shot a deer last year, and she ran right to spots that I didn't even know was there. I didn't know there were scrapes. There was a tree that was just mangled, that I
Yeah.
didn't even know about. So I put a camera up there, and I've got a nice like 12 pointer up there that I didn't even know
Yeah.
was there. I had no
Dang.
idea he was on this property. The property owner didn't know he was there. So I'm gonna probably use the climbing stand this year. Am I happy about it? No. But I I don't really have much of an option with
Yeah.
with the trees up here, and most of the trees up here in New England suck. Like they're not good trees to climb. Finding a good tree is impossible. Put a ladder stand on any of them, that's fine.
Yeah.
But you can slap a ladder tree on anything.
Yeah.
But this is, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what we can get into. Um, but that's,
Dang.
I don't know. I think so wait, with this afternoon when you busted your shooter buck, was he like blowing at you or
He didn't blow. I don't think he knew what was going on because when he ran off, he came back. So I don't think he knew what was exactly there. He just knew that he's never seen me in a tree before, I guess. But he didn't blow or nothing. And there's deer around that they didn't blow when he took off. But I don't know. He kind of he didn't seem too scared because he came back and then he ran back out and he just stood there behind a tree for a little while. And so I stood up and got my bow and he just stood there and was just looking around and then he just trotted off. So he wasn't too scared. So I don't think I busted him too much.
no? I would probably give it. Um, and I think this is another big thing that I see a lot of people mess up on, right?
Hmm.
Um, we have, as a society of hunters, and I don't know where this has come from. Like I really don't. I don't know where we have put this in our head that these are dumb animals,
Yeah.
right? These are extremely intelligent animals, and I put so much emphasis on this when people do actually manage to get a deer. How incredible that is! Like
Yeah.
the amount of things that had to go right to fool this animal to get it close enough for you to be able to get that shot off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then and then actually to make a humane kill on this animal is
Yeah.
nothing less than incredible, right? So I think so many people have conditioned themselves to thinking like, oh well, they blew today, that's fine, they'll be back tomorrow. Not
Yeah.
no. Give them 48, 72 hours, right? Give them time to think like, oh, that was just a one-time thing. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
then when they start moseying back into this area, because you can switch a buck off to nocturnal, right?
Yeah.
One mishap with a big mature buck, and you will throw that buck into nocturnal. He'll never come
Mm-hmm.
around that area unless it is in the pitch of night where he
Yep.
knows he's got that going for him. So
Mm-hmm.
I would give it probably 48 to be safe, probably 48 hours to let that
Yeah.
area kind of die down. And that's the worst part of being a hunter, right? Because you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go hit him tomorrow. I know he's there now, and I'm gonna go back tomorrow. Well, you go back tomorrow, he's gonna be that much more freaked out. He's gonna be
Oh
that
yeah.
much more skittish, and if he can come around that area and not have anything happen, he'll forget about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you bust him out of an area and he's gone, right? He starts blowing at you. He starts pulling the normal, I've seen you, you're busted, goodbye,
Mm-hmm.
get out of here.
Yeah.
That area is done. That's been a rule of mine for as long as I can remember. If I'm busted in an area and it's by a target buck, that area is now dead to me. I will catch him before the area, I'll catch him after the area, but I will not catch him in that area. And
Mm-hmm.
I have put down several large, you know, shooter bucks doing it that way. By being a little bit more cautious, I think, than the average hunter
Yeah, for
by
sure.
just thinking about it. So I would probably give him 48 hours. I think you're good. I don't think you've scared him from the area too much. I think he knows that
Mm-hmm.
something was going on today and he
Oh,
didn't
for
like it,
sure. Yeah.
but I don't think it was enough to be like, I'm never coming back to this area, period.
Yeah. Which I think I'll be all right because I seen that when he ran off, another buck walked out probably 20, 30 yards in front of me, but he was in some thick stuff. So there's still deer around when he ran off. So I don't think I busted him too much.
What's like what are you seeing right now when you're out there? Are they like in a
Uh,
pre-rut state or
I could have swore I heard two bucks fighting. After that one buck ran off, I could have swore I heard that buck I seen the other one. I think he was fighting something. But I couldn't see because it was so thick. But I heard some rustling around and it sounded like some antlers knocking. So it's weird. They're acting funny. The bucks are by themselves now that I've seen, and the does are kind of by themselves also. So they're not hanging out no more, but they're also acting like they're getting ready to be fired up. They're already
yeah, so
fighting.
I know up here specifically, what I'm seeing when I'm doing my spotting and stuff, because like I said, I haven't really had a free chance to kind of get out, but when I
Mm-hmm.
do and I am looking at in fields and stuff, the bucks are still together. They're not close. They're not like they have been. They're starting to move a little bit of distance between them. But
Yeah.
if there is a buck in the field, there's usually one or two other ones there too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's usually and I tell people all the time, daylight savings time for me in my area here is usually when I see that switch, that flip from I'm okay with you being in my area to get the hell away from me, or me and you are going to have an issue type of
Yeah.
mentality with these bucks. Um, and it honestly, it's been cold, but it's not been cold enough to really get a lot of movement right now. Right now, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's just normal feeding behavior. It's not like, damn, it's so cold that these deer have to move because of how cold it
Yeah.
is. Um, I know what is it like right now? Let me see. Yeah, like right now it's 48 degrees here.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's cold, but it's not for them here. It's really not that cold.
Yeah.
This is still slightly warm for them. It's getting cooler. They know it's something's up. But this year is going to be a lot more difficult because we had a major acorn drop this year,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
they're not having to go far for food.
Mm-hmm.
You're not having to catch them in these fields feeding and grazing because they're not really having to leave the woods to find food. If
Hmm.
I can set up on an acorn tree, I'll throw a rock and hit a deer. No
Yeah.
problem. Um, so like, what's y'all's food looking like for Missouri area?
Right now there's a lot of farm ground around me, like beans, corn. There's a bunch, and then I made a little food plot with like radishes and stuff. But there's a bunch of acorns where I'm at. There's a bunch of big woods with acorns, so the deer got plenty of food for sure. And
Yeah,
most of all the ponds got water everywhere, so they ain't coming to our watering holes because their ponds are full. So I mean, it's gonna be tough for sure to get a buck away from its natural roaming areas for sure.
yeah. I think that's something that we have. That I know this year is going to be a new task that I did not have to deal with last year, which is
Hmm.
most of where I know for a fact that they're betting. You know, we I've seen them betting there. I know that they're going there. Last year they've been consistent. They keep the same betting area. But unfortunately, the problem is right next to their bedding area is a running creek, and
Hmm.
outside of that running creek, 25 yards outside of their bedding area is 7 giant acorn trees. That's
Hmm.
just dropping like crazy, right? So for the next probably month, they'll be fine. They're gonna have plenty of food. They're really not gonna leave their bedding area too much.
Yeah.
And this is where it comes crucial, right? As hunters, we have to decide what's the right decision, right? Do I
Hmm.
take the risk to get up closer to this bedding area, and set up where I know I might get a chance where they come in and out, or
Hmm.
do I make the smart decision that takes the longer road, takes the high road, and I have to sit back and just say, hey, you know what? That food supply is eventually going to run out. It's it
Yeah.
there's not enough acorns to last them all winter. It's not going to happen. So I'm going to catch them on the next closest food supply, which is a set of acorn trees. Probably it's like 250 yards, 200, 300 yards away. Um, and I'll set up there, and I'll consistently go to this spot, and I'll leave my shit there, and I know for a fact I'm gonna catch them coming to this next food supply when they have ran out of what's close to them, right?
Hmm.
So, and then with you for your situation, right? You got farmland everywhere. It sounds
Yeah.
like they have more food than they know what to do with.
Everywhere. Yeah. Especially where I hunt. There's one person does beans, one person does corn, one person does something else. It's like they have plenty of food everywhere. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you're talking about like massive fields, right? Or are they
Yeah.
like kind of smaller food
Oh,
plots?
they're big. Like they're massive, like farm ground, like where they bring them big combines in and harvest.
Shit. Yeah, I was
Like,
about to say. Okay, yeah. So you like your situation specifically,
yeah.
you're just gonna have to set up in between food supplies,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. I'm gonna have to move my stand. I think next year or next summer, I'm gonna go the total opposite part of the property. There's like where there's woods and there's two properties right here. I'm gonna set up right there at the point because there's like corns and beans and there's a fence right there that splits them both. So that's where the best place would be right there in the middle because I got the woods and then open fields. That'll be the best place for me to set up next year. I think it's too late for me to move
yeah,
my
I
stuff
mean,
this year.
it might be too late, but it's not too late to put up one,
Yeah.
right? Like you could put one up, right? And I think this is where, and it sucks, right?
Yeah.
This is where saddle hunters, this is where climbing stand hunters, this is
Hmm.
where people who can throw up those quick stands in 20 minutes, right?
Yeah.
That is where they have a uphand, an uphill advantage from you, where your situation is stationary, right?
Yeah.
You need something to come by you instead of you going to it, right? So
Hmm.
I think that's something that and the other big thing is, right, do you know for a fact, like, do you have them clocked where I know they're coming at this time from this area to this feeding place, you know e-
Not even
every other
close.
day?
Yeah. Not
No.
even
Okay.
close. No.
Do you have like a suspected betting area?
Yeah. They bet in the timber for sure because last year I had a spot that was more into the woods And every time I'd go in there for evening hunt, I'd bust 5 or 6 deer every same spot every day. If I every time I went hunting, same spot. So I know they're bedding in the timber probably 200 yards from where my tree stands right now. But I know that's probably where they're bedding. But I don't know what they do between the bedding and that because I don't see them in the fields usually. Or in my field, they might be in the opposite field from like a different landowner. But I hardly ever see them in my field. But I'll see them in the timber, and then I won't see them at all. That's all. It's weird.
Yeah, and I think another big thing that, is unfortunate when it comes to deer hunting, right? Is as hunters, and we're all guilty of this. It doesn't matter
Hmm.
how nice you are of a person, right? You're not giving out advice to somebody
Yeah.
else, right? Especially when you know that person's hunting very close to where you're hunting, right?
Yeah.
You're not sharing, tips and tricks. You're not going to be like, oh, well, I saw him at 5 o'clock, walking out of this wood line into this
Hmm.
field, and then they stay there for an hour, and then they go back into the wood. Like you're not sharing that information, right?
Yeah.
And I want to make that. I wish it was more socially acceptable. Where one of the tricks that I did for a while is I would go talk to the farmers. They don't give a
Hmm.
shit. Most of them don't hunt. They don't have time to hunt,
Yeah.
right? So I would go talk to the actual farmers, and I'd say, "Hey, I'm hunting on Old Man Jenkins' land, next to yours, and I know he's had a lot of problem with the deer on his land, so I'm trying to help him out. And I'm assuming because your land connects to his that you're having a similar situation. Where are you seeing the deer come like into your property? What times are you seeing the deer come into your property?" um,
Hmm.
and most of them, they'll just rattle off everything you need to know to be
Yeah.
successful. um, it makes for an awkward conversation, and if you do
Hmm.
find a hunter that's like, well, my son and my grandson, they all come over here and hunt, I'm not going to give you anything. Be like, I'm not trying to hunt on your property. I hunt on the property next to yours. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to help him to the best of my abilities.
Hmm.
And I'm also just trying to feed my family too.
Yeah.
And talking to them and making them a a personable conversation
Hmm.
typically helps. Well, most farmers don't care. You're looking at thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of property damage,
Yeah.
to crops. That if the deer population is big enough, it
Hmm.
doesn't take much to make a massive
Yeah.
hit onto their population of their, that's their money. So
Hmm.
um I would definitely, even consider trying that. Are you the only hunter on your property?
Yeah. I'm the only one. Yeah. But they on the property I'm the only person, and then the land that's I think to the north of me, they have a guy that leases it, but he wasn't there at all last year. I haven't seen him yet this year, but I last year I seen 3 good bucks in this field, and they would cross over and go towards where all them does were bedded. They'd go there late season just chasing them does, but there's nobody really hunting around me. But I tried getting permission on when I was turkey hunting. They had some turkeys in their field, so I asked them like, "No, we have a guy that leases it." And I was like, "Well, I haven't seen him, so I mean, if he backs out, let me know, and maybe we can work out a deal or something." But I haven't heard from him.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes people, slightly successful is being able to have those open, like, those personable conversations, right? Be like,
Hmm.
hey, I'm not trying to take his spot, but I am trying to hunt, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to do it respectfully. So
Hmm.
what can we do? What can we work out here to make this
Yeah.
a possibility? So I think those are two big things. And right, like, especially with
Hmm.
your situation, right? Because you have oh my god, it sounds like heaven,
Yeah.
having that much food being an
Yeah.
issue, right? That's never words that you normally say when it comes to deer hunting, right? I have
Hmm.
too many food options for them. That's
Yeah.
just not a thing that you hear very often. So right now, it really is kind of figuring out what their eating habit is, right? Because when rut starts, it
Hmm.
doesn't matter where you're sitting. It does not matter where you're sitting. They're going to be everywhere. I remember I was in high school in a real rural area in Kentucky. Like, my graduating class was 28 people, right? So
Yeah.
like, very very rural area. So like, you
Hmm.
knew everyone and everyone knew you, and they knew where you hunted and whose land you hunted on. And I
Hmm.
remember came into school, to high school, and I was showing the picture of the buck that I shot, big 10 pointer, and my buddy got pissed off, and I was like, why are you mad? He was like, that's my target buck. He was like, where were you hunting? And I was like, I was hunting on my property over in this area. And it was like 10 miles away from where he was hunting.
Dang.
And he has hundreds of photos of this buck on his land. I mean, he has them from velvet to up to rut, and then like the next year he has them year round. Like this is a consistent buck. The only problem is he was chasing a hot doe, and he chased this doe miles,
Hmm.
until she was just exhausted and finally just gave it to him.
Yeah.
Um, and it just happened to be 50 yards in front of me. So
Yeah.
um, that I think that's something that with rut it doesn't matter how consistent you are. It doesn't matter how where your spot is or how good your spot is. It's just
Hmm.
putting in the time, because you're going to see if you're sitting in a spot that you've seen deer, right? Follow the does. Let mama doe show you where she's going. Stay
Hmm.
consistent. Does are super, from what I'm seeing and what I've seen in the years I've been hunting and actually paying attention. Does are pretty scheduled, right? They
Yeah.
are lizard brained as hell, right? So they are routine, 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 routine. You know when they're coming out, you know where they're going, you know where they eat. Once that food supply is gone, they move on to the next one, right?
Yeah.
So knowing where they're going to be, when they're going to be there, puts you that much more an advantage when it comes to rut. After rut, that's when it comes down to like actually planning. That's when it comes to strategics, right? If you
Hmm.
are smarter, right, and you've done your time and you know where the late season food supply is, right? So your radishes, your
Hmm.
beans, your clover fields, you're
Yeah.
looking for areas that during hard winters are still going to be there.
Hmm.
Cornfields are huge, right? They're going to be dropped corn constantly. So staying in those areas are going to be, that's where you're going to make your success later on in the end of
Yeah.
the season.
For sure. Yep. And
Yeah. So
one thing about
I would definitely
Missouri,
start looking at that.
yeah, one thing about Missouri is it's the same with you. Can't put corn, no corn, or you can't feed the deer out here. So you really got to rely on the natural food or food plots, acorns or something like that. Because that's you got to set up on those wherever the food's at. Because you can't throw bags of corn. I wish you could, but you can't.
Yeah. Corn is so cheap. I would buy pallets, you know,
Yeah, yeah, it's
I would fill an entire second backpack and walk into my stand with it just
hmm
trickling out behind me.
yeah,
Um, Now, so I did have an old man. I was at a bar a couple years, or it was about it was a couple years ago. I had just got done hunting, and I was wearing my he could definitely tell I was out hunting, and we sat down and we started talking. He bought me a drink, and he was former Navy, so we got into a conversation. And he was telling me, he was like, where I have success. And I was like, with what? He was like, with rut. And I was like, what's that? He was like, doe urine. And I was like, yeah, I usually, if I do shoot a doe, I was like, I usually bottle her piss, and I usually
hmm
keep it, fresh. I was like, it's fresh piss. It's great.
hmm
He was like, no, he's like, there's two things that I do that I don't think people realize is great ideas. And I was like, what's that? He's like, I will shoot a doe that's hot. He was like, I want that doe dead. And I was like, why? I was like, you want her to bring in bucks for days. And he
hmm
was like, the big buck he's already gonna put her out of commission. He was like, guaranteed, the biggest buck on your property is gonna put her out of commission, or the next biggest buck on a different property is gonna smell her and come get her. And I was like,
hmm
fair. He was like, so what I'll do is I'll shoot her and I'll leave her. And I was like, you'll leave her? He's like, I'll leave her for the entire day. He was like, if I shoot her in the morning, I will leave her laying there for the rest of the day. He was like, and I promise you, her scent is still getting out. And I was like, that's interesting. I was like, I've never heard of that. And he was like,
yeah,
then I'll take her and I'll bottle her piss, and then I'll take her glands and I'll hammer them up to trees around my property. He was like, and I'll leave her scent, those big ass glands that are on the back of their
yeah,
legs.
yeah,
He's like, I'll cut those off. He's like, and I'll just start scraping them up on trees, and then I'll hang them up on a tree somewhere. He's like, and then I'll put her piss in a spray bottle. And I was like, spray bottle? He's like, yeah. He's like, and I'll get up in my stand. He was like, I'll climb real high. He was like, and then I'll spray it out every hour. He's like, I'll just 2 spurts, just psh, psh, and then I'll sit back down. He's like, and then I'll spray a little more, and then I'll sit back down, and then I'll hit a doe call, spray a little more, and I'll sit back down. He's like, I have killed more giant bucks doing stuff like that, and I was like, that is interesting. I was like,
Yeah.
I've never thought of that. He was like, also try to keep your like if you're gonna buy store bought piss, right? You're gonna buy doe urine from Walmart or Dick's or whatever you buy them from. He was like, always make sure it's warm. He was like, I'll put it underneath my arm as I'm walking, keep it nice and warm, and then I'll spray it out. He's like, you can absolutely smell the difference between hot urine and cold urine.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, huh. He's like, how do you do it? And I was like, I just do it the way I was taught. I was like, take a shoestring and tie another one to it, dip that into the bottle of urine, and then I'll drag it behind me
Yeah.
as I'm walking into my stand. So there's a trail. So if they hit that trail, they'll start going down either way. They're gonna,
Mm-hmm.
they'll find where I'm over at, and then usually probably 30 yards away from my stand, I'll pour a little bit of it out, and then I'll just leave it there, and it usually keeps them attracted for you know probably about a week.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, that's definitely a way to do it. So do you have like when it comes to putting out doe urine, do you have a specific way that you do it?
Yeah, it's about like you said. I just find a spot that's kind of in my shooting area, and I just pour some out in the ground, and then that's all I do. Or I'll hang something or bury something, like put leaves on top of it where they actually got to look for it, and I pour some. But I really haven't gotten into, like, I got into it probably recently last year about putting that stuff out. But growing up, I never really did any of that stuff. I've always seen guys do it on YouTube, and I never did it. But now I've been watching too many videos, and I've been just doing a lot of research, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna try it. It can't hurt. So I just been pouring some on the ground.
Yeah, and I think I don't really think there's a wrong way to do it, right? And like
Yeah,
you've seen those that you can buy that like you dip it in and it leaves it on the tree, right?
yeah,
Um, there's another one that I saw and it's for buck scrapes, right? And
mm,
it's all over TikTok right now. It's all over my TikTok. Every time I open it, I see it. It's the rope that you hang that you squirt the scent onto.
yeah. I got one of them
Um,
ropes.
yeah, I've heard so many different things about it, right? I've heard like,
Mm,
the rope has a lasting smell of factory. So once it's no longer got that buck scent to it, they stay, a good away from it. So
yeah,
it's great for while you have it. And I've heard things where people are saying like, it's great year round. I leave it
mm,
constantly. So I haven't done enough research yet to say one way or another whether
mm,
I'm on board with it or kind of off board on it. I know as far as doe urine goes, I'm going to kind of keep doing the same
yeah,
thing I have been doing, which is it's worked up to this point until I find something else that's inconclusive where I'm like, yeah, I will try the spray bottle though. That's not a bad
yeah.
idea. Let
Yeah,
that go
spray
with the
bottle
wind.
there. Yeah, I didn't think
That's
about
not
that
a
at
that's
all.
No, that's kind of a smart idea. I might do
Hmm.
the just buy like 2 or 3 bottles of it, which like doe urine. When you buy doe urine, you're spending some money on it, right?
Yeah,
Regardless.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I'm gonna try the that's not a bad idea. He was like windy days. He was like, it's a number one way to keep your scent down. He's like just make sure the wind doesn't swirl back on you when you're spraying
yeah,
it. That
yeah.
that scent never gets off when it gets on you. God. But yeah, I'm gonna try I'm gonna try the spray bottle this year. That's a
Hmm.
pretty smart idea.
That is
Um,
smart. It's definitely keep it from wasting because you pour it out on the ground. That's you're wasting more than this spraying a couple in the air
oh
every
yeah,
hour for
oh
sure.
yeah, yeah. It's genius. So I'm definitely gonna try that idea. And I don't know about you, but I have done enough research now that I realize how many animals in the woods give away your position.
Hmm.
I didn't know that squirrels barking, up until like 6 years ago,
Yeah.
that they give away your position too.
Hmm.
Until somebody was like, have you ever heard squirrels barking at you? And I was like, yeah, all the time. I was like, they're constantly yelling at me. I was like, I've even considered bringing a slingshot out there
Yeah.
just to knock them out of the tree. So I'm leaving with something. And they were
Hmm.
like, that's them giving your position away. And he was like, how many times have you seen a squirrel barking and then seen deer that same day? And I was like, and I really started thinking about it. I was like, I don't think I have. And he was like, exactly. They're giving your position away. They're saying something's here and all animals be on the lookout.
Yeah.
Um, I had an old man once. He was convinced, like you could not convince him otherwise, that woodpeckers were a natural attractant to deer.
Hmm.
And I was like, I please elaborate on how this works. And
Yeah.
he was like, woodpeckers, when they come around, he was like, I usually see deer. He was like, I don't know
Hmm.
why. He was like, but woodpeckers are very skittish birds as it is. He was like, so if they hear woodpeckers in the area, they feel safe enough to walk into that area. And I was like,
Yeah.
huh. I was like, now that I think about it, I was like, I have seen woodpeckers and then seen deer later that afternoon.
Hmm.
And he was like, I'm fully convinced that it works. And I was like, I
Makes
mean,
sense.
it's only weird if it doesn't work, right? I was
Yeah.
convinced when I was first starting hunting. I was pretty self-taught. Like my father, he taught me a lot, but I kind of surpassed his abilities pretty early on. Like he
Hmm.
wasn't a big huge hunter. He wasn't a huge advocate. I was watching videos. I was on Sportsman Channel. Like any chance I got, I was involved completely with hunting. Right, it didn't matter what
Hmm.
type. You could tell me it was snipe hunting, and I was still gonna go.
Yeah.
So um, anyone for listening, snipe hunting is not real. But um, the so I surpassed him pretty quickly, and I was convinced that crows and ravens brought deer in because every time I would see does, there were crows nearby.
Yeah.
I did not realize that there was actually a scientific reason for it. Is crows follow the deer for food supplies?
Hmm.
Never knew that.
Me
So
neither.
there is some truth, like where there is one animal, there's another. Like if there's turkeys in the area, you'll have deer, guaranteed. Turkeys spot everything, right? Anyone who's ever been turkey hunting, you've
Hmm.
absolutely been spotted once or twice,
Oh
right? You've
yeah.
been
Oh
you've
yeah.
been smoked a couple of times, right?
I can't
No
stand
one
turkeys.
realizes. Oh my god, I fucking hate those birds. They taste great. I fucking hate
Yeah.
those birds though.
Yeah.
I hate like turkey hunting is the bane of my I have ADHD,
Same.
right?
Yeah.
So sitting still, completely still for
Hmm.
like an hour or so when you're looking for this bird, oh my god, it's the worst.
I can't stand it. You make one little
I
move
didn't.
and they take off.
Oh my god, yeah, it's insane. I can't do turkey. I didn't know that like a turkey and like when he's hot, right? He's hot and he's ready. He'll gobble at anything.
Hmm.
Um, and there was one time I went out to this land and I was like, my buddy was like, yeah, there's a big turkey. He'd already shot his turkey. He's like, there's another big turkey if you want to go shoot it. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah. I was like, all right, well, I'll go out there. So I drove this piece of shit truck that I had at the time. I was in high school, right? And it was the only truck I could afford. It was a 1995 Dodge Dakota. Shit was still steel
Hell
body
yeah.
frame, no airbags whatsoever. The bitch barely worked. I had a
Hell
screwdriver to
yeah.
start it, right?
Hell
And
yeah.
I got out and I slammed my truck door because I was mad at my girlfriend at the time. I
Hmm.
slammed my truck door and across the way I hear, oh, and I was like, no fucking way. So I did it again. Boom, fucking. I was like, damn, he'll just gobble anything. So I just yelled. I was like, bah, blah, 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 blah. I was like, damn. And sure enough, here he comes. He was moving
Dang.
up that hill. So turkeys will gobble freaking
Mm.
anything. They have vision for days. They have X-ray vision, but
Yeah.
no brains.
No brains, but they'll see you from 2 miles.
You ever like done like any predator hunting whatsoever?
Pigs. Really, I think I've only just went pig hunting. I want to go coyote hunting, but I just really do pig hunting.
I have a
Pig hunting.
pretty basic rule when I go hunting. Um, and
Uh,
it's not hard to follow, right? Um, if there's a coyote, my hunt's ruined.
mhm.
I'm going to shoot that coyote.
Yeah.
That coyote is gonna die. Period. End of story. I'm taking that coyote with me. if
Hmm.
if I gotta go chase it down, I will. I want that coyote dead.
Oh yeah.
Because I have a trail camera of it eating a fawn of mine on my property in Kentucky.
Dang.
Um, And so I was like, oh damn. I was like and it was like like it was I think I have it. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
It's a wild trail cam photo.
I
It's
bet.
a deer giving birth, and he was literally waiting. Like you can see him in the background waiting for this deer to come like pop his baby out, and immediately came over. Next picture was him. He had that fawn, and he's taking off with it.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, I'm going out for blood now. I was like, I want him dead.
No
And
kidding.
yeah, so now if I see a coyote, it's down, right? Just like
Hmm.
if a doe blows at me, you got one chance to get out of there. You can keep your life if you get the hell out of there, right? But
Yeah.
if you continue to blow at me, I'm scoping you from across the way,
Oh yeah.
right?
I
You're
can't.
getting smoked.
Yeah. I can't stand when they just sit there and blow. Like, so go ahead and leave. You don't gotta stay and blow.
Yeah, go, bye, see ya.
Yeah.
I understand. You know where I'm at. Cool, good for you. Get out of
Yeah.
my face. I have a real strict rule when it comes to when it comes to does blowing, man. They gotta go.
Oh yeah.
Because up here in New England, it's a ridiculous. Like there's so many deer up here. It's hard to find good land to hunt off of, but you can kill. I think it's 5 does per person and 2 bucks per person.
Wow.
So
That's a lot.
it's a lot of deer, right? More than you'll ever need,
Oh
right?
yeah. That's a bunch.
Yeah, I think last year I shot 4, and I have a garage fridge free, like the tall freezer. I had
Hmm.
that completely filled, and then I had a half of a chest freezer filled. And so
Wow.
I was cooking deer meat. I've been cooking deer meat all year long. I've been giving deer meat out. Like anyone who just had a baby, I'm like, here's some deer meat, man. Enjoy, make you some deer chili or whatever. Um, but I'm also against deer jerky. You can hate me, but I got
You're against
reasons.
it?
I'm against like I'm not against having it. I'm against wasting meat to have it.
Huh. That's
And
weird.
there's a
I
soul
love
thing
deer
for it, right?
jerky.
Like, oh, I love it. I don't get me wrong. I'll eat it all day long. But to make 5 pounds of deer jerky, that's almost 10 pounds of deer meat.
Yeah, that's true.
So, just to have a little bit of it, you're putting you're wasting a lot of deer meat to make some deer jerky. Now it makes my wife uncontrollably angry because she loves deer
Hmm.
jerky.
Yeah.
But, I would rather have 10 pounds of deer hamburger. Now, do you do the processing yourself, or
I
do you take
don't.
it somewhere?
I when I was a kid, we used to do all the processing. But now we just drop it off at a processor. It's way easier.
Yeah, convenience sake is easy. I live in base housing,
Yeah.
and here on the military base, and I refuse because I know how to do it, and I
Hmm.
feel like I can make my turnaround a lot quicker. Because as soon as I
Yeah.
shoot a deer, right, I want to start eating deer meat like that night. I want that deer on my dinner plate that night.
Yeah.
Um, so I do the processing myself. Um, Also up here, the prices to get a deer processed is ridiculous. You're looking
Really.
at I think the cheapest one I've seen up here was and you had to bring it already, like the basic rules, right? Field dressed,
Yeah.
and then tagged, and then you can leave it in the freezer, and then they'll get to it with your name and number and everything, right? The
Yeah.
cheapest one I found was $480.
Jesus.
Yeah, like you're spending more. Like I was like, I'm not spending
That's
that money
crazy. Yeah, it's
to
a
get my
hundred
deer
bucks.
meat
It's
back.
it's like $100 down here.
$100?
Yeah. It's like
I
a
might
hundred
do hundred
bucks to
bucks.
150, and sometimes like they'll do like a $40 to $50 um gut fee. But yeah, they'll do
Oh, if you
everything.
don't get it,
Yeah, if they don't gut, you still charge you like 40 or 50 bucks.
oh, that's not bad.
So
Okay.
200 tops usually is what it'll take you. But usually, I mean, I'll gut mine every now and then. But if it's like late and I've been tracking this deer for hours, I'll just drop it off and give them the 50 bucks.
You're just like, whatever, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'm not dealing with it.
Yeah, like last year, I
I don't
was
think
pissed
people,
off.
yeah, I don't think people realize the exhaustion level, right?
Yeah,
Of, um, hunting all day in the stand, right? Like you don't think about it being exhausting, right? You don't think
Yeah.
about like sitting there, but it's not just sitting there, right? Like your senses are heightened. You're constantly looking left to right. You're looking all over the place, and then to have all of that, and then actually successfully shoot one, and then
Yeah.
track and successfully find the tracking, and then
Hmm.
drag that fat ass deer out of the woods, depending on how far it is that you have to drag it,
Yeah.
then gut it, and then drive home, then put this deer, like it's exhausting.
Oh
I
yeah. A
remember there
lot of
was one night
steps.
I shot one in the evening last year, shot it, it ran forever. I jumped it, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't give it long enough. It was my fault. And I jumped it. So we went and sat and let it sit. Went
Dang.
back an hour later. It's now going on 8:30, and we're tracking this thing in the dark. Find it. It's a mile and a half from my truck,
Woo.
and I did not bring my equipment to like my deer cart. I didn't bring that, so we literally had to drag this thing out, and then I gutted it, brought it home, and then I did all the processing myself that night.
Damn.
So it was like 3:45, 4 a.m. when I finally finished, and I like
Wow.
went upstairs and I was like, I'm done. I'm exhausted. I've never been that tired.
No kidding.
Dog
That's
tired.
crazy.
Dog
Yeah.
tired. But so yeah, so big things with Missouri, that you're seeing right now, right? You're still
Hmm.
seeing that they're still kind of traveling, the Bucks are still traveling together.
Yeah, they're close. Like I had two bucks. They're all within 10, 20 yards from each other. But yeah, they're still close and still acting. They're acting funny. Like they're wanting the weather to be cooled off, but they're still kind of doing their pre-rut stuff and early season stuff. So I haven't really seen too much like rut activity. Like there's not many rubs or like the only scrape that I'm seeing is the scrape I made. So I mean, they're not really being too active right now.
Yeah, okay. So they're still kind of staying together. Um,
Mhm.
your specific situation, you got a lot of food plots, man.
Yeah,
that's
a lot of
that's
food
a
where I'm
lot of
at.
yeah, a lot of food running around where you're at. So that makes it a little bit more difficult for you.
Hmm.
But so you're still kind of in a I know I was talking to have a guy coming on the podcast Wednesday, the Georgia um outdoor boys. He's coming on the podcast Wednesday.
Nice.
I know he's saying that he's still seeing a lot of kind of, he's not even really seeing pre-rut right now. The Bucks are
Hmm.
literally running together. They're not
Yeah,
running with those. They're running together.
yeah.
So
I haven't seen none of that in a while.
yeah, I think we're cold enough. I think we're in a cold enough area now that I can probably you can probably safely bet that the pre-rut is getting ready to start. Probably the
Hmm.
next, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 weeks. They'll be starting here soon, and
Yeah.
then you know, I think we're going to see this year. I think we're going to see rut start probably 2 weeks earlier than we did last year. Last
Hmm.
year for here, we didn't see rut actually start till end of November, beginning of December.
Wow.
It was super, but it was also hotter last year.
Hmm.
So it took them a lot longer to hit that cold sense, and then the does they would not go into heat, right? And then finally,
Yeah.
and they were doing it at random times too. So like you'd have one doe go hot, and you're like, oh, rut's starting. You're like, yeah, sweet. And it was like early November, and I'm like, sweet, perfect timing. And then she would be done, and then none of the other
Yeah.
does were hot, and I'm like, the hell. So I'm hoping this year we kind of see it a little bit earlier, and I think we will with what's going on,
Yeah.
But um yeah, so I think that those are big things that I would definitely, for you, find where they're bedding, and
Hmm.
try to put yourself in between that and a food supply.
Yeah.
You
Because right
know,
now I'm on the edge of. I'm in between the radishes. I'm in between the bedding and the radishes. But if they're wanting to go to the beans or corn or whatever, I'm on the total opposite side of the property right now.
right?
So there's no telling. Like I haven't had a camera, like a picture. Uh, I had a buck hit a scrape a couple nights ago, but that's really all I've been having is just that. And I haven't really had nobody, no deer in the food plot. So they must be hitting either the acorns or the other farmland around.
Yeah,
which
and I
I
think
need to
that's
go over
something
there and
that
look.
yeah, and cameras make it so easy nowadays to kind of see what's going on when you're not there, right? Like those
Yeah.
are your eyes and ears.
Oh
But
yeah.
you also have to remember, and a really really smart hunter taught me this last year. A camera only shows one frame of what's happening.
Hmm.
You don't know what's going on behind you. You don't know what's going on behind the buck. You don't know what's going on in front of the buck. You just see that what that picture shows you, and we're trying to make a an inference of going, okay, this buck is going this way at this speed at this direction. This is where I need to set up. And
Yeah.
in reality, your camera may have just been in this place where he was running from a coyote or he was running from
Hmm.
something that scared him, right? So
Yeah.
I think we forget that all the time is cameras are fantastic if they're used right and if they're
Hmm.
literally just used as a camera, right? So I think we need to stop putting a whole and I think a lot of hunters are doing this now, right? Because we're in this age of technology. We're I shit, I've seen people using drones to track dead deer. Have you seen this?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
It's
that's crazy.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
Um,
it's crazy.
I actually got to watch one last year. He was like, I need you to go stand exactly where the first drop of blood is. And so the guy went
Hmm.
out there and it was cold, fucking cold day. Went out there, stood there. He put him on thermal on his drone and he could see the blood trail of this deer.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. And sure
Hmm.
enough, he had fallen down this little ditch that we would have absolutely missed 100% of the time, had that drone not been used.
Yeah.
I definitely the age of technology is making things pretty incredible. But we've got to be smart with it, right? And people have been
Yeah.
killing deers for hundreds and hundreds of years. So just because we have technology doesn't mean we have to trust it to the highest degree that we have.
Hmm.
So, but man, I appreciate you coming on and dude, we definitely gotta see what I want to get you back on probably around mid season and see what
Oh yeah.
success have you had any success this season so far?
Not yet. No, the first time I went out, I didn't see nothing, and today was my second time, and I had some pretty good action. I about had a buck, but I messed up. That was my fault.
Hey man, it's not hunting if you don't have a time or two where you want to punch yourself in the face because you're like,
Oh
damn,
yeah.
I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. I
But
definitely thought about unhooking my
that's what the
harness
yeah that's the
and just falling
that's the
down.
thrill of it though.
Yeah.
That's the next
Oh
time
yeah.
just choose to fall on them and just
Yeah.
wrestle them to the ground.
Yeah. I should have done that because I was just looked down at him. He was just doing that to me. I was like, well, damn.
That's so fun. Yeah,
How are
yeah.
you doing, bud?
Next time just pull out the knife and pull a Rambo style. See what
Probably gonna have
you can be
to.
part of the spear hunters up here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's funny, man. Well, they what's your account so everybody can go come and follow them.
On TikTok is Beyond the Blind Outdoors, and that's I have my YouTube right now is Oklahoma Outdoors, I think, but I'm gonna change it to Beyond the Blind probably tomorrow. But that's really all I use for my outdoor stuff.
Yeah, you dropping some good videos here soon.
If I can kill a deer, yeah.
Hey man, just
Yeah,
start doing the just you'll start doing the videos where people are like, all right, how many days can we go with before we finally get a deer?
yeah, yeah. Maybe I might have to do that because today about was the day, but I messed it up, and I didn't want to grab
Are
my
you
camera because I didn't want him to see me grab my camera, but it was too late.
are you self-recording or are you recording for other people or are you having people record for you? Like what's up with that?
Right now, I'm self filming right now, but I might if my buddies are down, I might let see if I can film them a couple times this year, and then get one of them to film me because it was well tonight it was really tough. I don't know how I was gonna be able to film myself, grab, and it was gonna be tough. I don't know how these guys do it, but yeah,
You gotta
self
get that
filming is
Tacticam
tough.
on that bow.
Yeah, and I need to
You gotta get
for
one of
sure.
those go. There's a bunch on. I hate bringing up the fact that like I just see it all the time on like TikTok and everything.
Yeah.
They're actually they look like pretty solid cameras
Oh
that you can
yeah.
attach to your bow rest.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think that's I'm gonna look at that, and then I'm also gonna get those microphones that like you plug into your phone. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah.
That are like super wind resistant, but like you can whisper and it sounds just clear as day,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
I'm thinking about getting a couple of those to have, with a couple of live. I'm gonna do a couple live streams while I'm out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. That's what me
Kind of,
and Georgia boy whenever we talked about doing because we went live a couple times during the summer while we were shooting our bows, and we were talking about just going live and we were hunting or whatever and just talking to people. And it's like, yeah, we gotta get mics up because the wind's gonna be blowing when we're hunting.
yeah. Well, and then the other thing is like your phone camera only picks up so much whisper, right? Before it's
Yeah.
like you can't hear what you're saying. So I think
Hmm.
those little cameras, definitely, bring out a good portion of it. But
Oh yeah.
man, I like I said, I appreciate you jumping on, and
Oh yeah.
I'm
Thanks for
gonna
letting me.
check back in with you on like probably middle of the season, see what's up, and
Yeah.
I'll hit you up in a couple days, and we'll get on and exchange some phone numbers and stuff, and see if we can I want to see when you get that target buck, man. Next
Oh yeah.
time,
Me.
just
Yeah. You
jump on
too.
top of it.
I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to. If I don't bring my bow next time, let's bring my knife.
Yeah, just sharpen a stick before you go out there, and make it real
Yeah.
primitive.
That's crazy. I'm gonna have to watch the spear hunt videos when I get off here now.
Yeah, man. There's that one dude who he's that blow dart expert, right? He's
Okay.
shot like black bears with blow darts. Um,
Goodness.
yeah, he's like 3 feet from this like 400 or 500 pound black bear. And he smokes his black bear, and he only runs like 50 yards. It's insane.
Damn.
I know people who shoot guns who can't shoot a deer to keep it within 50 yards, let alone a blow dart.
Yeah. No
You
kidding.
know, That's insane. That
It
is
is.
absolutely insane. Well, man, go enjoy, and like I said, man, just keep me posted on it, and we'll get back together and probably mid season, see what's
All
going
right.
on.
Yes, sir. That sounds good. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Have a good one.
You too.